Good morning.
So anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this very busy Wednesday.
And also on the wall note, big story in Drudge today, we've only built a mile and a half.
Really?
A mile and a half of wall, but yet we've been allocated to build at least 100 miles of wall, but for some reason they just can't seem to get it done.
Well,
unbelievable.
A lot of conservatives say that it needs to be done. If you look at what's happening down there, they have had to stop taking in migrants, stop processing them in the Rio Grande Valley, where we've all been, in McAllen, Texas, because of all the illnesses, especially the flu.
That's right. On Monday, a 16-year-old unaccompanied migrant who had crossed into the United States at Hidalgo, Texas, with 70 other people. The 16-year-old, when he was being processed, they realized that the guy's got a fever. It's like flu-like symptoms. So he went to a nurse practitioner. She diagnosed him with the flu, prescribed him Tamiflu. The next day, he died. And so what they've done is, because they are seeing so many flu-like symptoms, high fevers, and they're treating them, they're shutting down that particular facility to new detainees.
And by the way, that means, let me see, 2,300 a day have nowhere to go. Where are they going to end up? They're just streaming across. This is a flat-out invasion. Meanwhile, here's the quote from Ron Keiss, he's spokesperson for the Customs and Border Patrol. To avoid the spread of illness, the Rio Grande Valley sector, keep rolling the prompter forward, has temporarily suspended intake operation at the CPC. Individuals apprehended in the RGV section will be held at other locations until the situation resolves. So not only do they have to pick them up with vehicles that aren't big enough, with personnel that can't drive enough, now they have to bring them to a place that's even further away. Yeah. And Congress does absolutely nothing. It's not okay to wait to 2020. That's right. It is not okay.
It's so sad when you see all these individuals die, especially the little children. This 16-year-old was unaccompanied, and Kevin McAleenan, who is the acting Homeland Security Secretary that Brian was down there on the border with, he said even in March, we were seeing seriously ill migrants, chickenpox, flu, and infants with fevers as high as 105.
Well, think about this, Ainsley. Don't they tell you in your school if your daughter is sick, has a fever,
you have to leave them home for 24 hours.
Now, can you imagine 8,300 people, we have no idea who's vaccinated and who's not, sitting in the same area in situations that are makeshift at best. How can they not have some situation that is dire and contagious?
5 migrant children have died since December. All 5 were from the country of Guatemala. That is why Congress needs to change the rules so that we can process.
Not hard.
That is what Ben Carson, the HUD secretary, said yesterday. He said, look, regarding federal housing subsidies, we've got to change the rules, because currently the current rules bar undocumented migrants from receiving federal housing subsidies. But they are thinking about changing the rules so that if every person in that house is not legal, they're going to kick them out. That would impact a number of people who have family units where, for instance, the child was born in the United States and has status. Right. This would change all of that.
If I'm legal and you're part of my family and you're illegal, he's saying you're not allowed to come and live with me. Under a government-assisted facility.
Currently you can, but the Trump administration is considering changing the rules. And there was a very contentious hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday. Watch this.
The D in HUD does not stand for deportation. I'm afraid that a recent proposal of yours will bring nothing but despair. I find it despicable. This is a horrible plan. You will rip apart families and be throwing children onto the street. What is your plan to take care of them?
Well, if you read the rule carefully, you will see that it provides a 6-month deferral on request if they have not found another place to live. And that can be renewed 2 times for a total of 18 months, which is plenty of time for Congress to engage in comprehensive immigration reform.
That's a brain surgeon trying to keep his temper in check to somebody who just wants to sit there and have a sermon about how to treat illegals the same way you would treat Americans in need of those public housing. What's more important, the 100,000 people on the street or the 100,000 streaming through our borders illegally? That's the question.
He's basically saying, I'm trying to follow the law. If you don't like what's happening, you're in Congress. You need to change the laws. I thought it was smart because he's pushing Congress. Look, you have 18 months from now until 18 months, well, once this goes into effect, for 18 months to change the laws.
Exactly.
Right.
So the ball is in the court of the Congress once again. And he made it very clear. The reason that the administration is considering this is because there are people on waiting lists who have been on waiting lists who are legally in this country, and they should be given the first bid. Absolutely. Yeah. Here he is again.
The real thing that is hurting people is our failure to address this immigration system, the rules that are drawing people here and keeping them here, and that are so unfair to American citizens who have been paying taxes and working here. Whenever you get on an airplane, in the initial announcements, they say if there's an emergency, your oxygen mask will drop down, put yours on first, and then assist your neighbor. Obviously, we need to take care of our people. Doesn't mean that we're not compassionate people. It means that we're logical people.
Secretary Carson on with Tucker last night trying to further explain what these Democratic Congresspeople are sitting there telling everyone sanctimoniously what should be done and how illegals should be treated, instead of actually doing any of the hard work behind closed doors to make some small adjustments the way you did for Jay Johnson in the past, to at least address the emergency now and maybe do something where you get elected to do something comprehensively for 2020.
Well, Brian, as it turns out, there is good news. The Democrats are talking about doing some legislation, but it's to stop what the administration is thinking about doing.
Of course. Democrats are totally against anything that this president would want. Don McGahn, they asked him to show up yesterday. The president's tweeting about that, saying, come on, it's been 2 years of an investigation. He sat down and answered questions for hours, 30 hours, and they still want to question him again. He didn't show up, and they're upset about it.
Right, and the President of the United States is going to be meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer today, and he says, before I talk infrastructure, I want to pass the USMCA. I think the president should also say, before we do anything about infrastructure USMCA, we have to address the emergency at a border. These border agents are just going to quit, and I wouldn't even blame them because they're in an impossible situation.
Well, they're frustrated by Congress. You know, they're doing their job. They're happy to do their job, but they would like Congress